Good afternoon, everyone. We'll start with a quick relaxed mind so we can focus better and we can get maximum out of this session. I would like to introduce all to Sonika. She's also part of our core team. She's done her bachelor's from electronics communication. She's got international experience having worked in Italy as well. And she's worked on various projects, including with some of the government ministries as well. So I'd like to have Sonika started with a quick mind relaxation technique, and we'll start with our presentation. Thank you. Sonika, you should be able to unmute. Sorry about that.
No problem. Good evening, all. So before we proceed, let us relax ourselves mentally and physically. So I request all of you to sit straight wherever you are and bring your attention completely in the present. So as you are physically available in the present, so you are mentally available in this moment. So let us check ourselves if I am mentally here in this moment. Just listen to the sound coming into your ears. So, what all sounds are you able to hear from your ears? Recognize the types of sounds coming into your ears. Feel the touch of the ground from your feet. Feel the touch of the chair on which you are sitting. And now slowly bring your attention towards your breath. Just focus on your breath. Each and every breath. And for a few seconds, bring your attention towards the source of this breath. उस प्रकृति की ओर ध्यान ले चलते हैं जहां से प्राण वायु इस शरीर को मिल रही है। कुछ सेकंड्स रुक कर धन्यवाद करते हैं प्रकृति को। अगर सारा दिन एक बार भी प्रकृति को धन्यवाद नहीं किया तो इस पल प्रकृति को धन्यवाद करते हैं और वापस अपना अटेंशन श्वासों की ओर। एक एक श्वास अंदर जा रही है, बाहर आ रही है। And as I'm breathing in, I'm experiencing the positive energies going inside. I'm breathing positivity. And as I'm breathing out, I'm exhaling all my negativity. And there is pure energy inside my body. My body is completely relaxed. And now I'm bringing my attention towards my body. And for next few moments, just bring your attention towards your body and take some moments to say thank you to each and every organ. पूरे शरीर को धन्यवाद। शरीर के एक एक ऑर्गन को धन्यवाद। इस शरीर का साथ मेरे लिए बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है। इस शरीर को सबसे पहले धन्यवाद। And now I'm bringing my attention towards the life energy, the source giving life to the whole body. So bring your attention in the middle of your forehead and just feel there is a sparkling star where we put tilak. And this sparkling star is giving light to the whole body. And this light is the life energy. This light is full of peace. There is light of peace spreading in the whole body. I am light. I am peace. As I am focused towards my real self, towards my true self as a peaceful light, I'm experiencing peace inside and outside in the atmosphere. I'm experiencing calmness. I'm experiencing lightness. And now we'll take deep breath 3 times. So I am requesting all of you to take deep breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And now listen to the sound coming from inside. I am peace. This is my true nature. I am light. This is my true nature. And with this experience, slowly, we will come back to this room again. And if you have closed your eyes, you can open your eyes. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonika. With that, we'll get started. I hope your mind is relaxed, not too distracted, and so we can get started. So welcome again all to today's session on AWS Cloud Fundamentals. I would like to quickly introduce who we are and what is the objective for arranging the first session of the series, Learn, Earn, Train, and Serve. We are a nonprofit organization with the sole objective of living happy, peaceful life, built on the principles of universal brotherhood. And the key to leading a peaceful, happy life is the knowledge to understand the inner technology or the IT of the mind. Extending the same logic to having a peaceful, successful IT career life, we found that a lot of people working in IT are not happy with their career or with their managers and are looking to advance their career but don't have the knowledge how to move forward or in which direction to move. The problem exists for students as well who are graduating and looking for jobs. So we want to address that problem by sharing our IT knowledge to empower you, each of you, to make better career choices by sharing and providing our IT knowledge with all the core team and all the panelists who are here and many others. Because after all, knowledge is the source of income. We are fortunate to have with us a team of IT working professionals with vast practical IT experience, including professors with wealth of knowledge and experience with the sole objective and passion of simply sharing knowledge. All our sessions are totally free because we believe education is not a business. And even our ancient scriptures emphasize that the best way to empower is through knowledge. So we encourage you to use this knowledge and to learn. Learn as much as you can and earn a better livelihood, thereby living a fulfilling, happy, peaceful life. Sharing is caring, and we also invite you to share and help and train others without any expectation of getting any name, fame, or monetary returns, but simply be rewarded by the inner joy of helping and serving others. We plan to arrange a regular series with topics that would help you get a better job, including topics related to cloud, data management, including big data, project management, system integration, customer relationship management, or CRM tools, and many various other topics, including how to deal with unrealistic demanding managers or preparing for interviews. Your feedback is very important to us. Your positive feedback will encourage the speaker, and your negative feedback will help us to do better. We would encourage you to post questions in the chat, and our team members will try to answer as many as we can. For today's session, we are assuming that the audience has some little bit background in IT, knowing what is a server and what's a firewall port. But if not, please do post even those questions in the chat and we will answer it while the speaker is presenting as well. And we can arrange this dedicated session on basics of IT as well. We have to keep in mind that we have a very diverse audience with different technical background and different level of expertise. So knowing who our audience is and what their skill level is will allow us to fine tune the presentation to make sure you get the maximum benefit of it. So I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Prashant, also using cloud or starting their journey towards the cloud. For example, small companies or startups, they don't have the upfront capital investment to build their own servers and start building the hardware capacity. It's a lot relatively cheaper and easier low-cost investment for them to get started using on the cloud. For large organizations such as Walmart, so even though they have their own data centers, like many other organizations, because they've had those for a long time, there's still benefit to go for the cloud because you get that agility. One particular case study or example I can share with is that Oxford University Press, located in UK, they had 27 data centers scattered all over the world. And COVID accelerated that journey for them to migrate to cloud because each data center requires personnel and requires management, and it's very expensive and difficult to manage at such a mass scale. Uh, for those who don't know, before cloud, how did the IT landscape look like? So before cloud was there, before AWS Cloud and Azure Cloud were there, it was very typical for organizations to have a large building or a large room where they would have all these racks of servers, making sure they are powering all the infrastructure. And it would occupy a lot of space. I was in one project where we couldn't start a project for 6 months because we had run out of space, and to buy additional servers and put it in the building, we didn't have any enough room as well. And we had to sign up another lease and start with another data center. So a data center is nothing but a building in which you put all these servers. And these servers are expensive. They start from 20 to 25,000 plus, and they have a lot of memory. They have like 128 gig RAM, 256 gig RAM, as compared to a laptop which has 8 to 16 GB of RAM, and they have a lot of CPU power as well. So organizations would build all this infrastructure. We call it bare metal because these servers are, you can touch and feel the metal in it. And they would have these servers, a building full of servers to power the infrastructure for them. But the problems, the challenges with it is that you have to forecast and plan in advance to build and put any software on these servers. So you have to budget for it. You have to put that upfront investment in these servers. And that slows down innovation. And business does not usually get the agility to build and deploy new applications. So there is a need for for organizations to be able to do things quickly with lower cost of investment, and be able to do more with less. And that's where cloud fits in. Prashant will add more to why to cloud, but I just want to give a high level overview why cloud is being used. And there are different clouds, AWS, Azure, and Google primarily, but those are the primary key in the market. Why should you invest and study cloud? Because almost every project that I'm engaged in the past few years has something to do with cloud. So it's an absolute necessary must skill set to have some experience to understand what is cloud and when to use cloud and how to build solutions on the cloud as well. What is more important is that if you understand what is cloud, what are the fundamentals, learning one cloud and then learning another cloud is relatively easier. And the way we're going to cover this session is we're going to focus on the capabilities. And once we do those capabilities, then it's easier to just understand. If you know how to create a VM in AWS, you know how to create a VM in Azure as well. So we want to make sure that we are equipping you with the fundamentals so that you can learn not just AWS, but multiple cloud, because a lot of these big organizations, they adopt a multi-cloud strategy because they don't want to be hostage to one cloud service provider. So they want to be able to better negotiate the discounts on the retail pricing listed on the website. So they will have at least two clouds and be able to see, which one offers better offerings, and they can build solutions on it. So with that, I'll hand it over to Prashad. In the first half of the session, he's going to cover the basics, the cloud fundamentals, and then we'll take a break again to make sure our mind has absorbed anything. And then we'll do a hands-on lab where Prashant will demonstrate how he's actually logging in and creating it. And we would encourage you to do the same so you can ask questions later on, and then in the follow-up session, you can get the most out of it. So with that, Prashant, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mukesh. Thank you for that wonderful introduction and bringing so many insights about cloud computing to this wonderful audience. So I think we have a great audience today. So before I start with the presentation, I would just request the audience to, like, if they could just give a one-liner about themselves. If I hope some of them would be students and some of them would be freshers and some of them would be already working in some of the IT companies. So if you could just do a one-liner in the chat so that I will be able to understand you better and will be able to accordingly take the flow ahead. So if you could just mention a one word, like if you're a student or a fresher or you're already a professional. Okay, great. Nice to see that many of you are already working in IT, many of you are students, and some of you are teachers as well, and some of you are also freshers. Okay, nice to know that. Okay, fine enough. So the session, I would try to keep the session very, very fundamental and very, very basic. So I understand as many of you are students and freshers, so I can understand it might get overwhelming for you at some time during some of the slides. But just bear with me whenever you will explore back after this session on those concepts. I hope you will be able to catch up and understand all of these concepts better, right? So thanks for that. With that, I would now start the presentation from here, and I will try to cover in terms of like starting from very, very fundamental level so that I am able to keep all of you like comfortable with the flow and you are able to understand everything that I'm trying to convey, right? Okay. So basically, what is cloud? What is cloud computing basically? So if we talk about traditional IT computing, if we go 20 years down the line, what used to be traditional computing? So it was 50% of the portion was data centers and 50% of the portion was your softwares. You have to deploy your application, softwares, programs, and everything. And when your data centers and your programs, applications come together, that becomes an IT infrastructure, right? That becomes a computing environment. But the problem here is that if you continue to uh, grow as an IT organization, then you have to focus on both the sides. You have to manage your data centers well, as well as you have to focus on your software and applications that you are developing, right? What is cloud computing? So cloud computing comes with an advanced platform, and here it pitches in a great offer to all the companies in the market that are depending on IT infrastructure for their daily business. It offers that you let go of your data centers, you let go all of the headache that you're taking to manage your data centers, and rather use our platform and deploy your applications and just manage what you need. So basically, cloud computing is the the availability of computer system resources that you used to purchase before and set up a data center yourself and then use it. In that case, cloud brings you already built up data centers and asks you to provision whatever amount of compute or storage that you need. You can directly provision that storage from the cloud console. Now, why do I have these pictures here? So you see here the products are getting sold on racks, right? So here product is a service and it is getting sold. That is why it is kept on the racks. Similarly, if you look at this thing, this is a data center wherein compute power is stored, is aligned on the racks, and compute is getting stored. It is getting sold. So it is getting sold through an virtual AWS management console wherein you just need to purchase the resources, for example, storage or compute power that you wish to. And here you need to physically go into the store and purchase your product, right? And the main important thing with cloud computing is that you only pay for what you consume, right? But in the data center, that is not the case. You have to provision a very huge data center. And once you have purchased all of your data center resources, you have to bear that cost. But in cloud computing, you don't have to pay any cost for the data centers. You only have to pay the cost over and above that you are provisioning, right? So let's move ahead to the next slide, wherein let's look at what is the purpose of the cloud. So with this image, I hope you will be able to understand that managing data centers is not quite an easy task. Managing data center requires a full-fledged team who are data center experts. And if you are into IT business and your company, even if it is not in IT, it somehow depends on IT. For example, banks, they depend on IT to manage their servers and all that. But if bank has to focus on their business, and it also has to focus on the data center, that if something goes wrong with the data center, their IT will be impacted. They will not be able to do transactions and all that. So that becomes quite a headache for that particular organization. So the purpose of cloud is to enable organizations to have more focus on business and not infrastructure. So cloud platform comes with a deal that you focus on your business application and your IT workloads that are more inclined towards your business, and we will manage all the things in the background. We will manage all of the data center components that are existing in the background of your particular IT workloads or application or web server or anything that is, right? Now let's look at what types of cloud uh, platforms do we have in the market. So basically there are 4 platforms, but these 2 are the most important ones. So public cloud and private cloud. What is a public cloud and what is a private cloud? Like public cloud is basically, as you can understand from the name, that the public cloud offers its services for public organizations and public corporates. For example, for organizations and corporates that are into serving the end users who are public, who are general public audience. For example, companies like Novartis, who is into pharmacy business, and then media and social media, entertainment businesses like Netflix and all of that. These corporates are serving end user who are generally public, right? And what are public use cases like e-commerce? And for example, the Indian government developed a COVID vaccination tracking application, right? So all of these scenarios, the organization would prefer a public cloud because the purpose that is getting fulfilled is for general public and the end user is public, and accordingly, the standards and government rules also are applicable to this particular cloud. Now, what is a private cloud? Private cloud is something wherein security and compliance and regulations are more important, right? For example, there are some of the government organizations that cannot go on public cloud, for example, armed forces, spy agencies. So whatever projects they have internally, they are for private audience. The end user is private. The end user could be a scientist or any government officer who is secretly involved into that. So all of such use cases uh, will be covered up by the private cloud, and the private cloud data centers could also be physically located in an isolated location. Like even the location is not made public so that it is generally kept secure. And the other private clouds are government cloud and hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud is nothing but an integration of public and private cloud, or it could also be an integration of multiple cloud platforms. For example, Azure is integrated with AWS. Some of the workloads, some of your applications running on Azure are connected to some of the applications running on AWS, and they are working together in a very well manner. So that is hybrid cloud. And what is a government cloud? So government cloud is basically developed by cloud providers for government organizations specifically, because government organizations have to follow certain protocols and regulations that does not apply to public organizations. For example, in US there is an arms act. There are lots of acts that you have to be cautious about when you're dealing with international uh, transactions and all of that. So government organizations use gov cloud when they have to provision their applications or IT workloads. I hope that that simplifies and clears the definition of all of these clouds for you. Now with that, let's now look at why should we adopt cloud. I know Mukesh has already covered that point from a very high level. Now let me go in some of the depth of these areas. Why are company preferring cloud? If I talk from the facts and data, you would be amazed to know that more than 50% of the worldly infrastructure that was running on traditional compute has migrated to cloud. I have personally worked with customers like PepsiCo, Boeing, which is one of the greatest airplane manufacturers in the world. I worked with many finance customers, many customers like Reader's Digest. They have been continuously migrating their data center workloads to cloud, and still it is not over. So I've worked with them for 2 years, and their data center migrations are continuously going on. Okay, so that is the advantage of cloud, that cloud offers you agility, that you can really deploy your applications within a span of few minutes, right? If you go back to 10, 15 years down the line, there a couple of uh, you had to wait for days to purchase a physical server, and that would be delivered to your location, and then you will provision an application over that. And that the limitation was that it will only be able to host one particular application, not more than that. But cloud comes with such an advancement that you can provision any number of servers in span of few minutes, right? Then it offers you elasticity. What does elasticity means? That you can deploy resources as per your demand. For example, you need 10 servers today, but tomorrow you have a sale, you need 100 servers. You can immediately scale out from 10 servers to 100 servers within a span of few minutes. And again, day after tomorrow, you don't need those 90 servers. You can scale back to 10. You can scale back to 10 servers again, and you will only have to pay the cost for what you consumed. But if it had been in the data center, then you had to purchase 100 servers and you had to bear the cost of 100 servers. You cannot let go of the other 90 servers when the requirement is met, right? And then cloud is a global infrastructure. You can deploy your applications across the globe, and you pay for what you consume, right? As I already mentioned that point. And there is no overhead to manage data centers. Data center Cloud has various data centers across the globe, and you don't have to worry about the management of those data centers. You just have to manage your workloads and nothing else. So with cloud, you get you get 50% more to focus on your business, because the 50% of the component, which is data center management, it is taken up by cloud. And then you don't need to guess capacity. Like generally in traditional computing, people used to purchase a lot of compute resources, and then over a period of years they used to realize that they did not really need it, but they had no option other than to keep it. But that is not the case with cloud. If you don't want 90 servers, you can easily let them off. And cloud is a cutting edge and a highly paid skill. It has a lot of demand in the market, and it is one of the most highly paid skill in the market. And this is why you should really prefer cloud. Now let's look at the global infrastructure map of AWS cloud. If you look at this map, it says that it spans across 87 availability zones with 27 geographic regions. So whatever green dots that you see are regions, and A region hosts two or more multiple availability zones. So it has around 87 availability zones, and to let you know that each availability zone can host data centers from 2 to 5 data centers. So you can evaluate yourself that if there are 5 data centers per availability zone, what would be the scale of AWS across the globe? So now let's look at what are regions and availability zones. So for example, India is a geography, right? And then in India, we have a region, Mumbai, wherein AWS has their 3 availability zones, which hosts multiple data centers. And if we look at the architecture, which is displayed here, you'll be able to realize that each region has multiple availability zone, and each availability zone hosts multiple data centers, right? And each availability zone is connected to each other with a very low latency fiber cable that offers high availability of your application. And there are multiple data centers within each availability zone. So what is the purpose behind this thing? So the purpose behind this thing is if you deploy your website on this particular availability zone, and let's say tomorrow there is an unfortunate disaster in this zone due to floods, this availability zone is not working, then at least you have 2 other availability zones to still utilize, and your website will not face downtime, and you can easily move your website to the other availability zones during such flood scenario, and you'll still get your business will not get impacted. And even if one of the data centers within an availability zone is getting impacted, it will immediately be transferred. Your website will immediately be transferred to another data center which is hosted in the same availability zone to ensure that your website does not go down, and this operation will be automatically managed by AWS, right? So I hope you are able to understand the regions and availability zone. Now let's look at the Gartner report of 2021, which showcases all the cloud players in the market. So if you look at this graph, you'll see that Amazon Web Services is the leading cloud service provider in the market, after which we have Microsoft, and there's a huge gap in Amazon Web Services and Microsoft. And then there is Google, which are the top 3 cloud leaders in the market. And then we have Alibaba Cloud as a upcoming cloud visionary leader. And then the other players are Oracle, IBM, and Tencent. So with this graph, I hope you all will be able to understand the scale of Amazon Web Services and the importance of Amazon Web Services, that why it is a cloud leader and what impact can it create in your resume, in your job, in your profile, if you are able to learn Amazon Web Services, because it has a really good scope in today's date in the market. Now let's look at the various cloud computing services that are offered by all the cloud platforms. So there are 3 kinds of services: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Now let's understand this from a real life example. So if I ask you to go back like 20, 30, 40 years back down the line, then people used to bring all the infrastructure in their home, and they used to do all of that stuff themselves because there was no platform available at that point of time. So they would grow their own grain, they would do the processing themselves and convert their grains into flour, and they would consume the output. So if you see at the red section, everything was managed by people themselves, right? Then there came a platform, which is the Chakki shop, which is a platform as a service wherein you can easily go to that platform, which offers you this service of processing. Like he will be having that machine, he will be doing processing for you, and he will be charging you for this amount, which is green, but you will be ultimately managing the input and output, right? So this became platform as a service. You can easily go with your input, you can ask him to do the processing, and then you can go back home just by paying the fee and take the output. So that is platform as a service, right? But the advantage is that you are only managing 50% of the aspect, and the 50% of the aspects are getting covered by the service provider. And then if we look at software as a service, then you don't have to do anything. Okay, the input comes from the provider, the machine and the processing. You don't have to worry about anything, right? Only thing that you worry about is output. If output is not okay with you, you can give the feedback to that service provider that it is not working for me well. I need something else. Okay. So the only thing that you have to manage in software as a service is the product that you're getting. Now let's look at an IT example, a real life example from IT world, and how that would vary in both of these services. So you need a Microsoft SQL database on cloud, right? And there are two approaches to provision that SQL server on cloud. How would you provision if you're using infrastructure as a service? And how would you provision if you're using platform as a service? So if you go with this first approach, you will have to purchase a VM on cloud. It could be a Linux or a Windows machine. Then you have to manually install that Microsoft SQL server, right? But the limitation here is that you have to manage a lot of components. You have to manage the operating system security updates. You have to manage the SQL updates, Microsoft SQL updates. Then you have to manage the downtime as well. Downtime is that you want to maintain the server. VM is a virtual machine. You can call it as a virtual server. VM is a kind of a server that you use to host your application. So sorry for that, the short form. So VM you can consider as an virtual server. The other thing is that you also have to manage the licensing part of the SQL server, and then you again have to provision an antivirus in your operating system to ensure that your server is basically secure from malwares and viruses. But if we go with the other approach, which is platform as a service, then what am I doing? I'm just going to that Chakki wala shop and I'm just uh, bringing back the processed output. So here I don't need to provision a virtual machine. I can already purchase a Microsoft SQL database engine from Amazon RDS service, and all the background components will be managed by AWS, right? So here AWS will do the OS maintenance, database maintenance, will take care of the licensing, will take care of the antivirus. And the only thing that you need to pay for is the Microsoft SQL database engine. Now, what is the context behind using this service and this service? So if you want to customize your environment in your own manner, right? So this gives you enough freedom to customize your environment. So for example, if it had not been an issue of database, then you want to deploy some of your application that is in-house, that is not some kind of you are not using any third-party application or anything. You have developed your own application and you're installing that. Then in that case, this gives you enough freedom. But in this case, you might not get enough freedom like this. So that is the only difference here. But the overall cost of platform as service is comparatively higher than infrastructure as service because the AWS is managing all of these aspects for you. So it basically expects that it is able to like also retrieve this cost from you. Now let's look at the SaaS services. SaaS is software as a service that we generally use in our daily life. Office 365 like Salesforce, Gmail, Zoom. So before we used to install Office 365 in our laptops to basically use them. But now do we really need that? We can easily go to web browser, log into Office 365 and start using n number of applications, Word, PowerPoint and everything. Similarly in Gmail, do we really worry about whether our attachments are going securely, our mails are secure, if somebody is sneaking into our mails or else? No, all of the background things are already taken care by the service provider, right? So now let's look at the difference between each one of these in from a very low level perspective. So if you are having on-premise, which is nothing but a data center. So in a data center, if you look that Orange means that you are managing each and every component. You are managing a whole lot of stuff, right? So if we take this on a scale of 100%, then you're managing 100%. Okay. But if you move to IAS, okay, then you are at least free from 40% of the stuff. You are only managing 60%, which is your operating system, or you can call it server, your runtime. Runtime is basically your Java environment, your Python environment, or whatever programming language that your application basically requires as a dependency, right? Then we have data and application, which is customers' data and application. So the security of that application, like security certificates and data encryption, that has to be managed by customer only. Then if we go to PaaS, you will realize that you need not manage 80% of the components. You are only 20%, you only need to worry about 20%, which is your data and your application. So basically, you just need to encrypt your data and set up enough security mechanisms here to protect your data and then protect your application from external attacks. So this is all that you need to manage in PaaS services. And in software as a service, you need not manage anything, right? Even your application and your data is the responsibility of software as a service provider. For example, we use Gmail, right? We don't have to worry about the security of our emails. We don't have to worry about whether we will be downloading any virus as an attachment, because that is already taken care by Gmail in the background. I hope that clarifies all of these services in detail for all of you. Now let's come to the other slide, which basically talks about what are the services that AWS basically offers. So AWS is not just a cloud platform. It is not just a technology. It is a complete ecosystem. You understand ecosystem? Ecosystem is something that operates on a very huge level. So it has more than 200 services. You will be amazed to know that. And the basic services are compute, storage, databases, networks, security. Containers is another trending technology that is also available on AWS. And then we have artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, and analytics. And there are a lot of services that AWS offers. It also has services for robotics as well, right? So let's look at the security component of the cloud. So as initially during one of the slides, I had mentioned that if you go to cloud, then you need not manage the 50% of the data center components. Like, so in IT computing, there is data center plus your IT applications, right? So this portion is data center portion, wherein it hosts your region, availability zones, edge locations, and then your hardware, compute, your primary compute, storage, database, networking. So all of these are data center components, and these are taken care by AWS, which is called as security of the cloud. So what does that mean? This means that you don't have to worry about the 50% of the aspects, and now you can give that 50% focus, that extra 50% focus into your business using the above section, wherein you are only responsible to manage your applications, your data, and the data encryption and server-side encryption and securing your networking traffic. So all of these, and operating system maintenance is also something that you might need to take care of if you are going with this model. And this is known as shared responsibility model, which is a kind of deal that AWS makes with their customers. I hope that also simplifies it for you. Now let's look at what is server virtualization. I know somebody was asking what is VM. So this slide basically talks about that. VM is virtual machine. You can also call it as a virtual server. So cloud basically operates upon this particular technology, which is server virtualization, because you know that cloud has data centers across 87 availability zones across the world, across the globe, right? And how it is creating a server for you is really amazing, that you should know. So if you look at this architecture, this is a traditional architecture, which IT used to follow around 10 or 15 years back. So wherein we will have a huge CPU, huge memory, RAM. NIC is network interface card, which is used for networking components like IP address, IPv6, IPv4, and then we have a storage disk. And over this hardware, we will provision an operating system. And over this operating system, we will only be able to deploy one application, not more than that. That was the limitation of physical servers, right? But then there comes a virtualization technology, which is known as VMware, and there is one more technology, hypervisor. So hypervisor and VMware are virtualization technologies which basically provides virtualization capabilities. And with the help of one physical server, you can create multiple virtual servers which can host different operating systems. And over and above of that operating system, you can deploy your different applications. Yeah, the requirement will be ultimately provided by customer only. So, but how does the virtualization happen? That if you have these n number of units, then it is basically divided into logical components. For example, we have two virtual servers here, and out of these physical resources, now we have provisioned half of these resources here. We have allocated half of these resources here. So now both of these virtual servers are operating over a single architecture, right? And this gives us an advantage that we can deploy n number of virtual servers, n number of applications we can deploy over a single architecture like this with the help of virtualization. I know that can be overwhelming for some of you as you might not have heard this term before, but when I will do the labs, you will be able to get a catch of this concept. So bear with me until then. Yeah. So now it's our fundamentals conceptual part is basically complete. So yeah, so now I think let's take a short break. I will now hand over the session to Mukesh. So Mukesh, you might be aware of the next thing that we need to do.
Yes, thanks, Prashant. So now I would like to introduce Veronica. She will help us relax better to ease the mind. Prashant, thank you for sharing a lot of the information as well. Veronica is part of the IT team as well. She has a background in mechanical, but she's part of the team as well. And she's helped us tremendously, all of us in the past as well, to relax our mind. So I would invite Veronica to help us relax the mind so we can absorb what we've learned and then get on ready for the next practical hands-on session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mukeshji. Good evening, everyone. Is my voice clear and audible?
Yes.
Okay. So, break is the best part, I think. So, everyone gets energized and everyone has a break. So, okay, I can see the replies. So, now, because as Mukeshji told that I'm from a mechanical background, I couldn't understand much of the cloud, but I hope after this wonderful session, everyone is on cloud 9. Yes or no? I want some replies on the chat. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. That's great, that's great. So now we'll be just having a 5 minutes activity, and I need all hands on the keyboard because we are going to use the chat box. All hands on keyboard and all ears very alert, focused towards me. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to speak up one word and you need to write any first thing that comes onto your mind when I speak that one word. Is it okay or should I repeat? Okay, fine. So as an example, flower. Oh wow, different answers and wonderful answers. Next, tiger. Wonderful, wonderful. See the variety of answers that we are getting from just one word. Some is saying powerful, some is saying fear, some is saying, oh, animal, okay, king, okay, dare, okay, what else? So I have, okay, some is saying paper tiger, very nice. Forest. So we have a variety of answers. Okay, the next one. I should appreciate you are very quick. Fire. Danger, energy, heat, light. Yellow. Okay, the color. Warmth, burn. So we have both positives and negatives. Okay, bright, truth. Wow. Yoga Agni. Wow, wow, wonderful answers. Okay, next. Parents. Can you see how many loves are coming out? So many people writing love, caring, strength, next to God, wonderful. Respect, eternal. Wow. Music, peace, relaxation, enjoyment, meditation, okay. Refreshing. Nice, 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 nice. So it's nice to see all attention. And so I was just going through one slide where Prashant told one very good quality of cloud, that is agility. So I can see all the agility here in the chat box. Yeah, nice. Car, fast, Tata, speed, drive, enjoy, Innova. Okay. Next, now write one word about yourself. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We just put a halt on this activity here, and I would just like to tell you first thing that we first was that in this activity we became very active. Okay, everyone has enjoyed this activity. Yes. Okay. Now, few things that we got to know from this activity. One, it was just one word that I was speaking up, and there were so many different answers or different perspectives that we were getting in the chat box, which means every brain is brilliant but different. So all of us can have different perception, different experience to any one thing, right? So in life, whenever we see something or we do something, we can have a very, very broad spectrum of our perspective, our perspectives. The next thing, very beautiful thing and wonderful thing to see, when I asked you to write one word about yourself, can we actually see the chat box? What a beautiful bouquet of qualities we have with us today. Yeah. So someone says brilliant, energetic, dedicated, sweet, helpful, very nice. But one thing that you might have observed, it was easier, and I would like to have some feedbacks on if it is right or it is not. It was easier to write one word for flower, tiger, fire, and car, and music, and all those things. But when I said write one word of yourself about yourself, you must have thought for 1 or 2 seconds. Yes or no? Yes. 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 Very true. Yes. Why? Why? Because today, the amount of time and energy we spend outside and observing everything outside, that is far much more than what we spend with ourselves and introspecting ourselves. And that is why we might be going nearer to the external world, but far from our own selves. Is it right? Yeah, yeah. So now coming back to that, we will just quickly go through one more exercise. And is everyone ready? Ready? Yes. Okay. So if anyone wants to keep the video on, they can just keep their videos on. Otherwise, we can do it at our own places. That's not an issue. When we were talking of cloud here, what I could actually uh, what I can say, what I could actually think of was, tell me the biggest. Okay, so cloud is some space where we can store some data. That is what I've understood from this session. Being a non-IT person, please forgive me for a very, very crude definition. What is the biggest and most natural cloud in the world? So everyone knows that answer. Brain, mind. Wonderful, wonderful. Now I ask a question. How much do we use it? So we have immense power here. How much do we use it? So we will just, oh yes, so we are also aware that we're using just not even 1%. Okay. So I hope that percentage is bigger than 1. So let's do one simple activity. I want all hands. Please keep everything aside. Both your hands here, here, on your cheeks. On your cheeks. Now, slowly bring them out. Why we are doing this activity? We are doing this activity to see how our mind is actually working, how our thoughts are actually governing what we do. So these two hands at this distance, bring them in your front. Keeping the distance same, bring them in your front. Take them back and see whether your face can fit in. Okay. Okay. Now bring them again in your front. Do not keep your hands tight. Do not keep them very loose. Keep them natural. And now everyone will close their eyes. Close your eyes and feel as if the two hands are the opposite poles of a magnet. North Pole and South Pole. They have immense magnetic power, and both the hands are pulling each other with immense force. Both are magnetic, pulling each other. They're coming closer, coming closer. They're coming closer. They're very natural and magnetic. They're attracting each other, and they tend to come closer. More close. As they come closer, the power of attraction increases. They are coming very near to each other, almost about to join. They are the poles of a magnet, attracting each other, attracting each other. Okay, now slowly open your eyes and try to fit your face in the hands. Is it fitting? Yes or no? Write on the chat. No, no, no. What happened? Our hands are not magnet. Our hands are not magnet. Okay, some got wider. Okay, wow. Instead of attraction, it became Magnetic feeling in the hands. Wonderful. Why this happened? Why this happened? Because whatever our mind thinks, it provides energy to the entire body of whatever we are thinking. So our mind has a lot of inner potential, and we can actually bring it out if we focus more on the energy tapped inside. And the best way to do it is through meditation, which we will hopefully be tasting a little during the sessions. But this was the activity to show you how powerful our mind is, and what we think, our body naturally tends to bring it to reality. So I hope everyone is energized. And now moving back to the sessions, over to Mukesh ji.
Thank you, Arnika. This
Thank you.
was insightful. Thank you. Prashant, back to you. We can do the labs now and see in practice all the theory that you've explained us.
Thanks, Mukesh, and thanks to Varnika for this wonderful session. I was really able to feel that magnetic pull within my hands. It was a real good session. Thank you for that. So coming up to the next section, which is AWS Labs today. So we are going to cover up these labs wherein I have tried to plan the most fundamental aspects of doing this lab so that everybody is able to get hold of this idea. I will not go very much into depth of these like the advanced labs so that we have, as we have freshers and we have students also, so they will also be able to catch up with that. And if you have any concerns or questions, you can definitely post them into chat box. If not possible, I may not be able to answer all of them right now, but we will keep a note of them and we'll try to later acknowledge to you all the answers on the WhatsApp or anyhow we can do that, right? So I will stop sharing my presentation and then I will share my, just allow me a minute. Let me open my browser and yeah. So I am now sharing my Chrome window. Let me know, Mukesh, if my screen is visible.
Yes, I can see your screen. Yes.
Thanks, Mukesh. So we will log into the AWS Management Console. So just to tell you, so all of the people present here, I would like to tell you that AWS offers the account completely free for 1 year. So you can create an account. So after you create an account, you have a 1 years of time period to explore cloud, to do your own experimentations with virtual servers, with all the services, or not all of the services are free, but generally you will get enough services as free and you will be able to understand a lot of concepts through experimenting on those services. Let me do a refresh. It's taking some time. Yeah, now I am able to see here. So before I go into the labs, yeah, you will need to use free tier account and you can provision it with ease. You just need to visit the portal and you can provision your account. So before I go into the labs, as I talked through various services while I was delivering the PPT, I talked through infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and then software as a service. So let me just give you a quick glance through of those services. So if you'll come to this dashboard of services, you will be able to see what kind of solutions and services AWS has for various business requirements. So it offers services from robotics, satellite, security. You will be also amazed to know that it also has quantum technologies platform. Quantum is going to be the most cutting edge technologies coming forward. It also has a platform for that as well. And then it has IoTs. Then we have analytics as a service, compute, containers, database, developers, machine learning, and media services. So I will go to the compute service, which is EC2. EC2's full form is Elastic Compute Cloud. So this dashboard of EC2 is basically used to provision virtual servers. So with the help of EC2, you can purchase a virtual server, and that basically becomes infrastructure as a service, right? You are basically purchasing the infrastructure over which you will customize your applications. Fine. Then I will go to a service which is PaaS, platform as a service, which is RDS. Now RDS is nothing, but it is a platform where you can directly get a database. So when you will create the free tier account on AWS, the AWS will automatically let you know what all you are going to get free, right? So you'll just need to visit AWS console, click on the free tier account, and it will automatically give you all of that information. So when I come to this PaaS offering of AWS, here in the RDS dashboard, see it is telling you this on giving you this option of creating a database, right? So if I go to this create a database, and what all options I would be able to see here is that it is offering me these many options. So I can create a MySQL database, a MariaDB database, an Oracle database, Microsoft SQL Server database. So I will choose Microsoft SQL as I was talking about that in the slides. So here you can also select your version, like which version do you want to provision, 2017, 2019, and then you have major number and minor number as well. So then you can create your credentials of database, and then you can select what kind of hardware that you will provision your database upon. So if your database is a really intensive database, you would go for a very big hardware, for example, which is offering four vCPUs and 16 GB RAM and is offering a good network speed. But if you don't have that big requirement, you can even go with the smaller one, which is offering you two vCPUs, 2 GB RAM, and lesser network bandwidth. Right. So this is a PaaS offering. So after filling up all of these details, it will give you the cost in the last, that these are the monthly estimated cost, 44 US dollars every month, right? And after you click the create database, it will directly provision a database for you. You need not provision a server, and then you will you will install the database manually, then you will do the licensing, antivirus, and all that. All of that will be taken care by AWS. You just need to fill up the details and create a database, and that is how you are going to get database as a platform offering. So that was the PaaS offering. Now let me go to one of the very exciting services of AWS, which is known as recognition, and which is basically using artificial intelligence and machine learning. Let me do a refresh. Yeah. So what is this recognition service? So this is a software as a service. I talked about the third service, which is software as a service. So I think I might need to refresh it again. Yeah. So what this service basically do is, this basically is a machine learning is using machine learning and artificial intelligence in the background to identify your images, your objects in the images. So for example, this is an image and there are various objects like cars, skateboard, a person is jumping, right? So it is able to identify the results of this image. It is able to identify that it has cars, automobiles, vehicle. It also has a person, human, skateboard, sport. So as this person is kind of playing a kind of sport, it is also able to identify that this activity basically resembles some kind of sport, right? Then it is able to identify so many objects. If you see, it is also able to identify wheels, you see. So such in-depth details this service is offering you as part of software as a service offering. Now let's come to the image facial analysis. So if you look at this image, it is able to identify the facial components, like it is able to predict the gender, and then it is able to predict the age range, and it is able to identify all of those components using the artificial intelligence and machine learning. So then why it is a SaaS offering? Because you are not developing that machine learning algorithms. You are not developing that artificial intelligence algorithms. You need not worry about what kind of server it is using in the background. What you need to worry about is what kind of output you are getting. So this is the output you are getting, and you just need to focus on this, right? And let me also showcase you one of the important feature, which is celebrity recognition. Like, so this is the this is the chairperson of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. It is able to identify. This is the CEO. So if I upload a custom picture, let's say I upload a photograph of Narendra Modi. So it is able to identify that this person here is Narendra Modi. So you see, so this offers a very good use case for all those advertising agencies who basically operates on images. For example, educational technologies like Byju's, they have to process a lots of millions of images in every like every month or to prepare the content for students. So they cannot do all of that efforts in a manual manner. So they use services like recognition to basically process that. I hope that that also gives you some kind of excitement to also explore these offering or these services after this session. So I would request you all to at least go and explore these yourself. So that is how you will be able to gain more interest out of these services, and you will be simply able to expedite your learning as well. So now let's come to the lab section, wherein uh, we will do 3 steps in our labs. We will deploy a virtual server, then we will deploy a basic virtual website, fine. And then we are going to implement some of the firewall rules over that website and see how those firewall rules are going to impact the functionality of that website. So I would like to request all of your intense attention here, because this is going to be a very good fundamental step that we are going to hear. So let me start it from the scratch. So you see this option here, launch instances. So launch instances is nothing but launch a virtual server. It means basically that only. So here it is giving me this kind of form which I need to fill up with the details, and I will be able to provision a virtual server. But before that, let me showcase you one important area here as well. We are in Mumbai region right now. Are you able to see? So if I click this drop down, it basically lists all the regions that are available in AWS. So if you see, it is available in America, in Asia Pacific region, and you see that this is Korea, Mumbai is here. Then it is also available in Europe, Paris, London, Ireland, and some of the Middle East countries as well. So just for this moment, let me go to North Virginia rather than Mumbai, and we will deploy a virtual server in North Virginia. So I'm sitting in India, but I am deploying a virtual server in North Virginia. So that virtual server will be created in one of the data centers that is hosted in one of the availability zones that is hosted under one of the regions that is present in US, America, North Virginia, right? So here, let me give a name to my virtual machine, which is my web server 1, fine. So this is going to be my name. And then I need to select my image. This is Amazon machine image. This is nothing. You can also call it an operating system. What operating system do you want to have on your virtual machine? For example, we have Windows on our laptop, right? Similarly, what operating system do I want on my virtual machine? So I will choose Red Hat as the operating system. So I will type it here, Red Hat 7. And I will choose the free tier only, because because free tier only will you will not be paying any cost for the free tiers. Let me press and enter again. Let me go with the image only first, Red Hat. Allow me a minute. Not sure why it is doing like this. Let me select from the drop down. Just allow me a minute. Let me. Yeah. So there must be some cache issues, cookies, due to which it was not able to load properly. So I connected through an incognito window. So now, as you see that this Red Hat image, I will pick up this image, which is Red Hat 7.7. And you see this is the 7.7 version, and this is the pricing for this image operating system. And if you come to this section here, you will be able to see that it offers you 750 hours a month totally free, which means you can run this server 24 hours a day for 31 days completely on for a completely a month, and then you will still not have to pay a single penny for running that server. So now see that you have access to such kind of servers across the year. You can do as number of experiments that you want to learn. So I will select this image, and now it has got this image. Now I will name my web server here, my web server 1. It is asking me option to select the hardware. So I will select a very minimal hardware because I just need it for the explaining purpose, which is free tier eligible, and it is T2 micro. It is offering me a 1V CPU and 1 GB of memory, right? So I have selected this hardware. Now it is asking me for a key pair. Now what is a key pair? So we are going to create a key pair, and today it is 9 October, right? So we are going to create a new key. So what is a key basically? So on cloud, if you have to access a virtual machine, if you have to access a virtual server, then it should be secure. You cannot access it by using a 3 or 4 words password. So this is a key which is basically very, very secure, and you need to use this key when you want to log in into that virtual machine server, right? So I won't touch the other parameters in the interest of time. So I will focus on creating a storage here. So as you see, I'm creating a 10 GB storage, and then all of my details of that virtual server are available here. That my virtual server, I'm provisioning one virtual server, and which is T2 micro hardware. and which is having 10 GB of storage. Okay, and then I click the launch instance button. So now it is provisioning that server in the background for me. Yeah, so you see within, it is not even a minute now when I clicked create instance, right? And within a matter of few seconds, it has created this instance for me. This is a virtual server. Within a few minutes, it has created a server for me, but it is in pending state right now and it will be visible within a few minutes. As you see that just now I got this IP address assigned to this virtual server. Now you see why it is in pending state, because it takes an operating system to boot up. Even if you have to switch your laptop on, it takes around 2-3 minutes, right? So that is the process that is going on in the background. And now understand, now visualize this thing, that you had to purchase a physical huge server, then you had to install an operating system, then you had to install an application, and that used to take 15-20 days. And you did the same thing. You deployed a virtual server and you did not even spend more than a minute. Now, how amazing is that for you all, right? So this is a great way to deploy your architecture. And that is why I was talking about agility in one of the slides initially, that cloud offers real agility. You can deploy your application, you can deploy your workloads on cloud within a matter of minutes. You don't have to wait to purchase your data center capabilities and then spend 1 or 2 months to provision a basic server, right? So now I will do a refresh and my server should be in available state now. So now you see that my server is running. And now we have a public IP, we have a private DNS, we have a public DNS, we have public private IP address as well, right? And then if I come down to see, we have this particular key available, and we'll go into the security components wherein we can see the firewall rules. So currently the firewall rules are that the port 80 and port 22 are currently allowed. So some of you are students, I understand you might not have good understanding of ports, but I am confident enough that once you go back and explore what are ports, you will be able to understand what this actually means. Right. So right now, this code basically means internet. So this traffic is basically open to internet. Anybody from the internet can access this machine, right? And looking at the other components, we have our 10G. Yes, definitely. Whatever you want to, whatever ports you want to enable, we can enable. I will also showcase you that as well. So just bear with me for some time. So now let's have a quick session. Let's log into that virtual machine. So I have a tool which is MOBA Extern. So I will use this tool to basically log in into that virtual machine. So are you able to see my tool? Mukesh, is my tool visible?
I can still see your AWS screen.
Okay, so I think I need to stop sharing and share my entire screen in that case. So I just shared my entire screen. I hope that should be visible.
Yes, I can see. Yeah, I can see
Okay,
the external.
great, great. So let me just go to the browser and copy the public IP. So if you want to connect to the machine, then you have to copy the public IP. Then you might need to download this tool once you go back after this session. We will click on the SSH button here. And in the SSH button, there is this section of remote host. So we need to put the IP address here. And you know that we downloaded a key while we were provisioning that virtual server. So we need to provide that virtual key here. So we selected 9 October, right? So I will select this key here. So Govindia, you can even open the server from console, but that is not feasible right now. So I would request you to go with this approach right now. So now it is asking me for a login user. So by default for Red Hat machine, the user is EC2 user. So you can take a note of it. Whenever you are going to do this thing, you can type EC2 user. And if you go up, you see, as soon as I pressed EC2 user, it gives me this message authenticating with public key, right? So the public key that I basically pulled in 9 October, it basically used that public key and allowed me log into this instance. Now I have access to this instance as an EC2 user. Yes, EC2 user is a default user on most of the Amazon's operating system. So now I will switch to the root user. So like in Windows, we have this administrator user. In Linux, we have this root user. So with the help of this command, you can go to the root user. And now the second step is that we are going to deploy a basic website on this server. And then we will be able to look at what kind of website it is and how it is working on the browser. And you all will also be able to access that website from your devices as well with the help of IP address, right? So for that, we need to install the Apache web server. So the command to install Apache web server on Linux is httpd. So this is the command, and Apache is known as httpd in Red Hat. So if I press the enter command, now it will go to the repository of Red Hat and download this particular application to this Linux server. So it's taking a couple of minutes. No, EC2 user will not have root privileges. Yeah, EC2 user will have root privileges, but ultimately you will have to switch to root. With the sudo command, you can even run root user command from the EC2 user as well. So now you see that it has installed the Apache package along with its dependencies, right? So now Apache is installed, and as you know that Apache, you might not know that Apache is a application, and we need to initiate that service in order to launch our website. So the command to start the Apache services, let me check the status first. So right now it is telling me that my Apache HTTP server is in disabled state. So what we need to do is we need to start the Apache service, for which we need to use this command, which is systemctl httpd. Systemctl basically system control, right? And through the system controls, you are starting this HTTPD service. It is as simple as that. So now as soon as I press the start, I can now again go and check the status. So it is telling me that my HTTP server, Apache server, is in active running mode now. So which means my website has already been deployed, and I can go to the browser and I can have a look at my website. Just a minute. So as you know, this is my public IP address, and I will click on open address. So now here it should load my website. So yeah, it's telling me this site cannot be reached. Why it is telling me that it is currently working on HTTPS port, but we don't have HTTPS right now. We only have HTTP because yeah, as soon as I enable the HTTP port, my website is accessible, right? So why was that? Because until and unless your website is secure, it can only function on port 80, which is HTTP port. And as I showcased you the rules for firewall, 22 and port 80 was enabled. So that is why now you see that the website is functioning. Now you can even customize this website according to you. So generally there is this directory. CD means change directory. Now I'm changing my directory to a folder. Let me showcase you the root directory of Linux. So basically, we have a couple of folders under the root directory, and under this where folder, we have www folder, and under which we have the HTML folder, wherein if I create an index.html file with any content, like for example, I will do a hello world right now. Okay. And this means appending. So I am appending this content to a file which is known as index.html file. And as soon as I do this, my content is pushed to this file, and my index.html file, which is located under this path, has got updated on the website. So if I will refresh this page, now you see that my website's content is hello world. So similarly, you can also customize your own website in this manner, and you can deploy your own website as you feel. For example, many people deploy their own personal website for their personal use case, or like blogging or anything like that. So if you wish to also do the same, you can also try experimenting around that, right? So this was the second step. Now somebody was talking about exploring the firewall rules. So let me come back to this point. So firewall rules are generally considered to be the part of security, right? So here you see this security groups. This is known as stateful firewalls. So I will go to this firewall, and here it is showing me that I have two inbound rules, right? So with the help of editing this option, you can basically edit these rules as per your demand. Like you already have these two rules enabled. You want to add more rules to it, then you have many more options here. You want to enable LDAP, you want to enable HTTPS. HTTPS works on port 443. Then you have a couple of more rules like Oracle RDS works on 1521 port. If you have a background database server, you can enable that. But based upon your requirement, that is generally done. So if I delete these rules, my website will stop functioning. Why? Because these ports will not work, right? So if I have to keep my website accessible to the audience, then I have to enable this port. And like some of you are already students and freshers. So if you try this IP on your devices, let me ping this IP on chat. So if you try this IP address on your devices, you will also be able to access the Hello World website that we have just created, right? So I request all of you to try, and it should be a good experience for you all. So let me do a short experiment with this rule. I will delete this rule, which is HTTP rule, and I will save the firewall rules now. Now, oh sorry, I think I disabled the. Now the website won't function because I just disabled the port 80, you know. So now until and unless I enable the port 80, the HTTPS port won't work, right? So I will have to reset that port, allow the access to 80. Only then this website will be accessible. So it's telling me that the site cannot be reached. So let me go back to the console, edit the inbound rules, add a rule here, which is HTTP. And you see here this option anywhere. Generally, it is not recommended to set up this option anywhere, because anywhere means that the entire world has access to your website. And giving this entire access, this access to entire world will allow your website, like you will be facing many DDoS attacks, many attacks on your website, and even your website is not secure. It is not running on port 443. So that will be can be a crucial moment, and your website may get overburdened and your server may crash. So that is why it is generally recommended to keep a range here. For example, I have a network of this particular range, 10.10.0.0/24, right? So this is my internal network. So then all the IPs that are in this range will only be able to access my website, and not the entire internet will be accessing, right? So this is how I can secure my website. I can strengthen my firewall rules. I can granularize my firewall rules, right? So for now, I will keep it anywhere only, so that for showcasing to all of you, and for the understanding purpose, we are able to work through. So now if you'll access this IP on your end, you will be able to see this hello world, right? So I think that was all from the lab's perspective. I know that it is quite fundamental for today because I myself don't want to go into advanced concepts because some of you will not be able to catch up with the some of the technical concepts. So we will take a gradual journey and progress ahead. We will cover up slowly and gradually in our every Sunday session. And I know you might be having a lot of questions around all of these things. So you can definitely like share those questions with us, and we will try to answer as many as we could. So for now, I will stop the sharing and go back to my PPT. Yeah. So I think now we have the feedback section here. So I would now give it over to Mukesh. So maybe Mukesh, you can go
Yeah,
ahead with
so
it.
we'll just post a link in the chat. As I mentioned earlier, your feedback is very important for us. Please feel to fearlessly give us feedback because we want to improve. So anything negative, we want to hear that first. Positive is also good for encouragement. Uh, so we'll try to see if we can get that link in the chat window so we can get the feedback form as well. Otherwise, we'll send out the feedback form later. We'll move on to the next slide. Then while we look for the feedback as well.
Yeah, thanks Mukesh for that. So this is going to be our agenda for the next Sunday, wherein we are going to cover up the other components of cloud. Like our aim is to go gradually, not to pace up and in a manner wherein nobody is able to catch up with us, nobody is able to understand any concepts. So our aim is to take you all along with us on this beautiful initiative and journey forward, so that we are also able to help you going forward on this journey. So we are trying to cover up these aspects in our next session, wherein we will be going in depth about the compute. We will be talking about what are the block storages that are offered by AWS, and what is a load balancer, what is a launch template, and what is auto scaling. And believe me, load balancer and auto scaling are one of the most important aspects of cloud compute. You cannot deploy your IT workloads without load balancer and auto scaling in production environment. So we are going to cover that, and the labs that we are going to focus in, that we will try to create an Amazon machine image, like we will set up our own customized operating system that we can use. We will try to deploy a highly available website. The website that we deployed today was not highly available because we only had one server. And what if that the hardware of that one server goes down, the entire website goes down, right? So we will deploy a highly available website, and which will be available under all circumstances. And we will set up load balancer over that website to distribute the internet traffic in a round robin fashion, right? And then we'll also establish auto scaling, wherein if the CPU utilization is going beyond 50%, then the number of servers will automatically increase. For example, you had two servers and the CPU utilization, average CPU utilization of both the virtual servers is going beyond 50%, then automatically we will have two more servers, which will add the count to 4 to manage all of the entire workload. And now I would encourage all of you to share all of your questions, whatever questions that you wish to get answered. We would highly appreciate that.
If you can post your questions on the chat, I'll read out loud for rest of the audience as well. I hope we've
Yeah.
answered most of the questions, but I'm sure we could have easily missed it. So if you don't mind putting your question, if you feel it's not been answered, or if any part of the session was not clear, or anything if you would like any elaboration on, we would be glad to answer those questions. I'll take one of the questions. I'm a QA, quality assurance for testing. Will this be beneficial for me? I'll answer that. So there are different roles in IT, quality assurance or testing, project manager, architect, business analyst, and so on. All of them, yes, it will be beneficial for all, because as a tester, you would be testing some functionality, and that functionality is using some VM. You don't have to know how to provision a VM. Most of the time, it's done through an automated script. So we call that as infrastructure as code. So if it's a developer or a DevOps engineer, they would have to create a VM. But we are doing this as an exercise so you feel comfortable and confident. You understand what is the information that you need when you're creating a VM. You need to understand, where is that storage, where is the data which is stored in the VM, and so on. So it just gives you more confidence and practice to understand. But in reality, you don't have to create an EC2 instance. If you're a business analyst, you don't have to do that. If you're a project manager, definitely not. You just need to know what is infrastructure as a service, what is platform as a service, what is a VM, and some of these capabilities. In EC2 is a VM in AWS. We call it as an Azure VM in Azure, but it's nothing but the same virtual machine. So depending on the role, you don't need to get into the details. But to answer your question in short, as a QA, do you need to understand what are the capabilities in AWS? Yes, it'll be good to know that. Another question is how to get AWS job as freshers. I'll let Prashant answer that. Prashant, if you don't mind explaining or sharing with the audience,
sure,
how
definitely.
do you get into AWS? That would also be very insightful.
So, yeah, I think that is a very good question, and most of the freshers would be having that question. So, even I did not start from cloud background initially. I was into a different background. I was into application operations. You might not know that field, but during one of the internal opportunities in my last company, which was HCL Technologies, I got a role to work as a cloud monitoring engineer, in, which was nothing but to do some kind of monitoring, and that was even not some kind of proper cloud role. So appreciate all of these opportunities in life wherein you are getting even a small role in a cutting edge technology, because that is a gateway. Now, if you pick up that gateway and you start uh, putting efforts toward that direction, you will ultimately end up on a good platform, right? So I took up that gateway ultimate, and even I was for 1 year I had to study cloud. I was not working on important areas as well, like I was not provisioning any virtual server or anything, but I was looking how my team is doing that. I was looking how my team is creating load balancers, auto scaling, and I used to get a shadow opportunities in the background to do that. So this answer is for all of those who are in IT field, but for the freshers who are yet to start the job, I would request you to go ahead with a free tier account, and there are a lot of YouTube channels. There are AWS internal material on documentations that you can refer to learn more about cloud, because learning is always useful, and you will find it whenever you're getting interviewed. You will be able to talk more on cloud. If you are able to talk more on cloud, then ultimately you will also be able to impress them around these skill sets. So I understand that you could be a fresher, and ultimately you have to take up a job. So then why not to uh, take a sound awareness of what is cutting edge in today's environment, and that is how you will be able to showcase that you really are aware what is going on in the market, right? So I
Yeah.
think we can
One
have.
of the Yes, no, thank you. I think that should answer the question. One of the question was, does AWS provide Android or iOS platform to build up Android or iOS apps? I believe it does have capabilities. I'll let Prashant
Yes.
add to it.
Yeah. So I have also added a few of such links in my appendix section in this slide, wherein AWS has software development kits available on AWS for developers, like for those of who are Java programmers, who are Python developers, and who are into application development. They can definitely use AWS services, AWS tools that are there for development, software development kits to develop the applications. But the focus here is that learn the cloud more than you are learning development of applications, because I understand that Android and iOS started applications trend started way back in around 2010, but now that trend has moved to the other platforms. Like cloud has become a cutting edge technology right now. So focus in terms of that you want to learn more about cloud. What are the ways you can enhance and upgrade yourself using this cloud skill set? Because ultimately application development and Android phone development, like it will continue to go, but it does not have that much pace as the cloud has right now.
Thank you, Prashant. Uh, One of the other comment was made by Arvind that, in Adobe QE team members are supposed to understand cloud technology, at least the basic in many teams. I totally agree. That is in other organizations as well. You don't have to know how to create an EC2 instance, as long as you know what is a virtual machine, what is an EC2 instance, and you know what is happening, what does it do. It's just nothing but a virtual machine. Uh, Another question was, are these sessions on Sunday? Yes, they are on Sunday, but again, we are here to share. And we have a lot of other topics other than AWS. We want to cover Azure as well. We want to cover big data. We want to cover integration, system integration as well. We want to cover microservices. There are a lot of topics. But again, we want to cover what is of interest to you. So the more feedback you give us and you tell us what it is that we want, we can certainly arrange additional sessions in Saturdays and Sunday mornings. I have multiple such sessions, but it's entirely dependent on what is that you need, which will help you in your career path. So we are here to serve. So if whatever feedback you give us, we can adapt to that. Another question is, what is your day-to-day task as cloud engineer in AWS? Can you please share it with us? Prashant, if you want to answer that.
Yeah, so actually, uh, I just moved to AWS this year. Before that, I was working with HCL Technologies. So there, I was involved in multiple technologies. I was not specific. I was not just a cloud engineer. Along with cloud, I was also a Linux engineer. Cloud. I was also into DevOps, and then eventually and gradually, I also learned Docker containers. So I was working as a full-fledged kind of like I was also into cloud, Linux, DevOps, and containers. I was a kind of automation engineer when I left HCL. So I was developing automation solutions for our customers. Like I was working for one of a very big like giants. Like I worked for PepsiCo as well. So I was developing automation solutions like how customers with the help of cloud, DevOps, and automation technologies, they can reduce manual efforts and they can adopt automation so that they don't have to do monotonous tasks, and that can be easily done by automation. For example, if you are provisioning 100 virtual servers and like we created one virtual server today, it took us 2-3 minutes. Like if you are creating manually 100 servers, it will take you 300 minutes, right? So that is a huge effort. So how can you do that 300 minutes of effort automate in an automated manner? So I would develop those programs using shell scripting, develop DevOps pipelines, and integrate those together to make that happen without any intervention of a human. So that will automatically be taken care. So such kind of use cases I was working. But now in Amazon Web Services, I'm not working as a technical engineer as I was working in HCL. My main roles are in cloud financial management. I work I help my customers in terms of cost optimization, how they can have better cost optimizations on cloud. I recommend them suggestions around cloud financial management. I manage my customers who are on cloud, their escalations, and like basically I take care of their all of their cloud aspects. So that is all that I have done till now.
Thank you, Prashant. One of a recurring question, same question asked is, there has been a career gap in our career, been out of IT for a few years, even as long as 20 years. How can I get back into the game, and how can you help me? Depending on the past experience, there are different roles. One of the most common roles, which doesn't even require any development experience, is that of a project manager. There's a common myth that if you're in IT, you need to know development. That is not at all true, because there are a lot of roles in which you don't need to be a developer. Uh, for example, you're doing testing, so it will be good for you to understand the code, but you won't be writing code as such. If you're a project manager, you need to understand the process, how code is written and deployed, and what is DevOps and all those things, but you don't have to develop it yourselves. So there are a lot of roles, and a lot has changed in 20 years. Like 20 years, there was no such thing as cloud, and there is cloud now as well. So, so as long as we bridge that gap and you're covering up new technologies which are in demand, and taking up roles like, with all that experience in the past as well, project management or business analysis, a lot of these roles, the basic skill set required is, as long as you just know how to even use Excel, you can manage projects. If you know how to use Word, you can capture requirements, and that's what a business analyst would do, is just gathering the requirements, what it is that the IT project should do. So the architect will design it, and the developer will develop it, and the tester will test it and deploy it as well. So depending on the role, there are a lot of different roles. It would be good to kind of have that conversation individual to know what your interests are. And the more you listen, you will kind of say, this looks interesting, or what the core skill set is. Every person has their strength. We passionately believe that, we cannot say, I don't know anything, I'm worthless. No, that's all negativity. We always, each of us, have some strength. We have to just cultivate with positivity and bring that strength. So we can have that conversation and see what fits in your world. Like sometimes people are really good at managing their life, managing their day-to-day task. Similar skill set could be used for project management. Some people are good at analysis. So it depends on your skill set. We cannot say, you should do this. It depends on every individual. So it'll be good. You can connect with me offline. My WhatsApp number is shared in the WhatsApp chat group. But it is possible, slightly difficult to catch up with all the technology. But that's where we are here for, to tell you what has changed. I've been in the IT industry for long, so I can tell you what it was 20 years back and what has changed. Some things have changed, some things haven't changed. Relational databases had started in early 2000. They still exist, but a lot of new types of databases like NoSQL databases have come. So things have evolved. But as long as you understand how that IT landscape has changed and where the new upcoming skill sets are, and if you pick up even one skill set, that will get you back into the game. So I would suggest we have that conversation so we can guide you individually. Another question is, I'm a certified cloud practitioner. What should be my career pathway in terms of certification? So it depends, if you're a fresher, and there are people who want to prove their credentials in AWS. So AWS has a lot of different types of certifications. I'll let Prashant talk about it. Like, what are these certifications? Are they valuable? Does the industry look upon them as valuable? Prashant, if you can share that experience.
Yeah,
Please.
thanks, Mukesh. So I think cloud practitioner certificate is a good place to start with, but you have a long way to go ahead as well. So basically, over and above cloud practitioner, if you're able to achieve solutions architect associate, then you will be able to get more attraction towards your resume, because solution architect associate really covers up good fundamental as well as advanced knowledge of cloud. And if you're able to do that certification, then you will be able to get selected across organizations whenever you're applying for resumes. Because what happens is now nobody is reading your resume manually. You know what? Companies have developed softwares which are machine learning and artificial intelligence based, and based upon your content written in resume, most of the companies scan your resume and are identifying the important aspects within. So if you learn that art of creating your resume. I know Mukesh will also help you there. He can also share some guidance around that part as well. But you have to learn that art of creating your resume as well, along with doing the certification thing. So if you are adding those certification in your resume, you are very likely to get selected, right? And not only for that, do the certification because you want to learn, right? Because learning is the only pathway to success. Do not do certification just for the sake of getting selected. Do it for learning purpose, because learning ultimately takes you to a long way, and doing just for a sake is just a very short term approach. So I would say that.
Thank you, Prashant. One of the other question is, please tell us what is your day-to-day task as solution architect in AWS. Please share with us. Can you share your experience on migration of any on-prem server to AWS Cloud Platform? I'll add to it, and Prashant, you can add to it as well.
Sure.
A key point is, as Prashant was saying, right? When you have this bare metal physical server, we install this software called Hypervisor, which is giving us this virtualization where you can create multiple VMs. Depending on which virtualization software you use or which hypervisor you use a VM. Now, if you use the Windows Hyper-V software, you're creating a Windows virtual machine. You cannot take that Windows virtual machine and start it with VMware because that's a different hypervisor. So depending on which hypervisor was used, you can move your VM around from one physical machine to another physical machine as well. So if you're migrating from on-prem, right, depending on what it is, if it's lift and shift, certainly we can do that. AWS does offer a migration service as well, and it can create that as well. But I wouldn't just say that is the solution. That should be looked as an architect as part of the solution. But many times it's there are different choices to be lift and shift, to be re-architected. Like at Oxford University Press, we had around 3,000 VMs, and some of these no one had even logged into it for 2 years. So should we just lift and shift it? Because if no one has logged into it for 2 years, it's not even necessary. So as a solution architect, we have to look at those things as well, rather than just saying, let's use this service and migrate it. Because you're just taking junk and putting the junk back. So that's what an architect would do, take a holistic view and ask the right questions to make those decisions. Prashant, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah. So definitely, as Mukesh mentioned, that AWS also has offerings for cloud migrations, which is known as Cloud Endure. So that is one of the service that helps you migrate, do a lift and shift kind of stuff from on-premise to the cloud. So definitely there are programs that AWS itself has for customers, which are also known as kind of migration acceleration programs, wherein they offer you full-fledged support. They work with you. They basically help you, but that is a kind of support that you have to do some tie-ups with AWS. I'm not much sure about that part, but just to clarify that I am not working as a solutions architect. I am into a managerial role, which is like technical account manager. So we have solutions architect. They take care of all the architectural issues and well, but my role is more inclined towards managing customers and doing cloud financial management for customers.
And those who are interested in getting into architecture, I can explain you everything. What are the different types of architects? What does a good architect do? How to think like an architect, because it's unfortunate that it takes years to become an architect, but it doesn't have to be that way. As long as you are learning from others' experience, you're learning from us, you're looking at case studies, you're looking at the patterns, you can become an architect a lot sooner as well. I'm just seeing if there are any other questions. One of the question would we continue these sessions on Sunday? Absolutely, as long as we keep getting feedback that they are helpful, we will continue as well. And there will be multiple topics. AWS is just something we are beginning with as well. Just seeing
I
if there
think,
are any
Mukesh,
else.
we can
Yes.
take one more question. I think then we can
Yes.
progress towards other
Yeah.
slide.
I think we covered all the questions actually, so I don't think
Okay.
there's anything else as well. So we should be good. Just one last question, some samples. Where can we get more information? AWS website has plenty of documentation. So if you just type in AWS and what that service you need, you'll pretty much get all the documentation and a lot of YouTube links as well. Prashant, if you can share that slide, which has a lot of resources, you can find books, you
Yeah.
can find YouTube videos. That would be helpful.
So we have added an appendix slide under which we have added all the important instructions how you can go to the console and create a free tier account. And over and above, like we have added this link wherein you can get a good overview about AWS Cloud from tutorialspoint.com. And then somebody was asking about the application development, Android, iOS. You can use this link. Then we have developer center, like who are in developer background can get more details to that area from here. And then you can know about more about virtualization, cloud storage options, AWS networks. And then we have added two more YouTube channels, which is from Stephen Merrick and a cloud guru. They offer they upload very good cloud related videos with respect to all the clouds, like even not specifically AWS, but also Google and Microsoft Azure as well. So you'll be able to get a good overview from all of these links, right?
Thank you, Prashant. So with that, I would like to conclude our session. I would like to take just 1 minute to thank a lot of the core team members who've been silently working hard to make this session a reality, uh, and putting in a lot of time and effort. I would like to thank our senior most faculty on the staff, Dr. Vinay Maitri. He's got 40 years of experience, uh, and Shaker and Sanjeev Gupta as well for doing all this coordination, making this a reality and happening as well, and Akshay as well. We'll be hearing from Akshay as well for some of the Azure sessions as well. So thank you, big all of you, to Sonika, to Monica and Veronica, and many others as well, whose name is not mentioned. And most important, thanks for all of you for attending, because if you're not attending, we wouldn't be conducting this. So big thank you for all of you. I hope this journey will continue, and we always look for your feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you all for joining today and giving us this opportunity to serve. I think that was a really good experience for us as well.
Thank you. We'll end the session for today then. The recording will be provided. Thank you.